What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror. This is Ethan Horror, and today we are back with episode 4 of my Halloween Spooktacular, and today we're hitting you with my top 10 slasher movies. Now, slasher is one of my favorite subgenres in horror, so I'm going to have some good opinions. I'm going to have some controversial ones. If you want to go down below and put your own top 10 list, I will be happy to read them and reply to them. But before we get into it, as usual, we have our horror movie advent calendar. We have gotten The Bride from The Curse of La Llorona, Michael from The Lost Boys, and 1990 Pennywise. Let's see what we're gonna get on day 4. Like, I'm actually kind of impressed because, like, there's some Funko Pops, like, on the box and, like, on the box art here. And I haven't seen... This is the only one on the box art that we've actually gotten, so I'm glad that they don't show them all off on the box art. So here we go with day number 4. It is October 4th, so let's open it up. Got a blind bag. Last time I looked at it, because it's a little bit see-through, and I could see what it was, so I want to be able to react with you guys, so I'm not going to look at it while I open it. And we got Georgie Denborough from It. So we've actually gotten 2 It Funko Pops. That's pretty cool. I actually don't have a Georgie, but this one's pretty cool. It's actually got a little stand, because I'm assuming his little body is too heavy for his head. And he's got a little paper boat. So that's actually a pretty cool Funko Pop. I'd say, I mean, they're all pretty cool. But this is probably the least cool, because it's just like a little kid. But it is, you know, they even got attention to detail. I don't know if the camera's going to be able to pick it up, but it says, no, it's not going to be able to, but it says SS Georgie on his boat. Like, it actually does. You can actually read that. That's insane. But let's get into my top 10 slasher movies.
Here's Johnny.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Let's just jump right into this with number 10, the original Scream. Now, you guys knew this movie was coming on the list, and besides from being possibly the most influential horror movie of all time, it's a great movie, and I think a timeless classic. Now, personally, I wasn't really around for the 90s. I wasn't really around. Well, now, personally, I wasn't around for the 90s, but, that doesn't matter. It's still a great horror movie. I think it holds up. It's not the scariest horror movie, but no slashers are really scary. But this one is a good movie, and it does have some good moments, and it has some scary moments, like that opening scene. That's pretty scary. And if you want to see my full thoughts on the entire Scream franchise, you can check out my Scream ranking up in the corner over there, or maybe that corner. I don't remember which corner it is, but I'll try to put it up there. Coming in at number 9, Candyman. Now, I actually wasn't sure if this was a slasher movie or not, so I looked it up, and it is a slasher movie. Honestly, all of these are probably, like, top 30 horror movies, so take that into account. Like, I love these movies. Like, number 9 isn't saying it's bad by any means. Candyman is one of my favorite slasher movies of all time. Well, obviously, idiot, it's on the top 10 list. I think Tony Todd puts in an absolutely excellent performance as Candyman. Helen Lyle is one of my favorite final girls of all time. And otherwise, it's a great movie, and again, another one from the 90s, but I think it's a timeless classic. I don't think this will ever look bad. Like, it will age perfectly, because, like, it's already, I won't say old, but it's 30 years old, but it doesn't look like it. Number 8, I have Ready or Not. It is a crime that not enough people know about this movie, because little to nobody actually does. It's by the people who did Scream 5 and Scream 6. Like, the lead actress in this movie is absolutely phenomenal, Samara Weaving. She's one of the greatest Scream queens of the 20th, I don't know. She's just one of the greatest Scream queens, like, of recent years, and she's even in Scream 6. I think Samara Weaving puts in her best performance of all time in this movie. She's great in The Babysitter, but we're talking about Ready or Not right now. I think it's a great horror comedy. I think it's got some actually scary elements, some actually, like, ooh, gross out elements, and some not so great elements, but I'm willing to overlook those because of how fun the movie is, and it's honestly a great time. Number 7, I have Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Going back to the old summer camp slashers like Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp. Fear Street is probably my favorite horror trilogy because there's like 3 horror trilogies because everything has to have at least like 5 movies. So I was really pleasantly surprised when I decided to look for horror movies to watch, and I saw these ones on Netflix, and I watched all 3 of them. They're all great, but this one is by far my favorite. It's because Sadie Sink, and I'm sorry, I don't know the actor's name, who plays her sister, put in absolutely great performances, and Ziggy Berman, I think that's her name, the main character, Sadie Sink, is one of my favorite final girls of all time. It's actually got some good kills for being a Netflix original, and, you know, I like how it continues the story while being a prequel, so great movie. Number 6, we have a horror movie that I just recently watched and actually fell in love with. We have You're Next. Erin is a top 3 final girl for me. I think she is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the movie's actually scary at some points. Like, besides the fact that every character in the movie besides Erin dies, there are some actually intense scenes, like that opening scene with the couple in the like cabin across the street or whatever. That's an actual tense scene, and some of the scenes where he's like coming through the window or, you know, pulling back the curtains where Erin is, and Erin is just a badass. Like the blender scene, great. Just like she takes out everybody, even the cop in the end, who she unintentionally does. But even then, it's still. This movie is awesome, and You're Next immediately jumped to one of my favorite slasher movies ever. Coming in at number 5, I have A Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, you knew this one was going to be on the list. A Nightmare on Elm Street for me has always been the scariest of the big 3. Not that the big 3 are really particularly scary, but I think Freddy is the most scary villain because he's the only one that actually talks. But he's not my favorite of the big 3, and Freddy is my favorite of the big 3 villains. But I do really love this movie. Obviously, it's number 5. It's probably a top 15 horror movie for me. So I'm not taking anything away with it by having a number 5. Just saying there are better ones out there. I'm like, you know, all the twists that happen in this movie, they don't work as well on rewatch because, you know that it's Freddy Krueger and you know his backstory. So that's really my only complaint, is that it's not really rewatchable. And also because that ending scene with the blow-up doll in the window, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Worst ending to any horror movie in history. I stand by that. Number 4, I have Friday the 13th, Part 2. Now, you guys know I'm a Friday the 13th fanatic. I love Jason, and I don't have the movies back there. I have the entire box set. I love Friday the 13th. It's my favorite horror series of all time. So, there's going to be a few that you'll see up here towards the top. This is basically the original, which is actually a decent movie. I don't think it gets enough credit. It's very slow and very boring. This one basically takes everything the original did but cranks it up to speed number 11 and just delivers a fun Friday the 13th movie with great kills and the introduction of Jason. Sure, he's not wearing his hockey mask yet, but it's still Jason. And Jenny Fields is my favorite final girl of all time, and she comes from this movie, so what's not to like? Coming in at number 3, this is the only one on the list where I'm not really sure it's a slasher, Orphan. Now, it's more like a psychological horror movie, but I think towards the end you can definitely argue it's a slasher movie. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say it's a slasher movie and put it at number 3. I love Orphan. I don't think it gets enough credit. I think a lot of people don't like it because of how wacky it is, but that's exactly why I love it. I love Esther. She's one of my favorite horror villains of all time. You'll actually see my top 15 horror villains of all time next week, and Esther will definitely make the list. So go check that out when it comes out. But otherwise, Orphan, it's a great movie. Vera Farmiga puts in a great performance. The dad, he's really unlikable, but he also puts in a great performance. And Isabella Furman, who is a 12-year-old playing an adult playing a kid, absolutely phenomenal. Coming in at number 2, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. This is a top 10 horror movie for me. And yes, both the top two are Friday the 13th movies, but shut up. This one is easily my favorite of the sequels, I guess. I don't know what you'd consider my number one. But, yeah, of like that original timeline, which I'm considering the original timeline, part 1 through part 7, or part 8, part 1 through part 8. That's like the original timeline for me. It's probably the best of any of those movies, and it's probably one of the best slasher movies of all time. Not even speaking like one of my favorites, which it is, but I think it's one of the best. I think it's absolutely perfect. It finds the Friday the 13th flavor, gives you a perfect villain, a great kill of the villain at the end, a great final girl, and another main character, Tommy Jarvis, that is absolutely great. Probably the most popular, Friday the 13th character besides Jason. And, like, honestly, if people were asking me they were like, oh, I want to get into the slasher genre, I'd show them Black Christmas, I'd show them Halloween, and I'd show them this movie. So that's why it's at number 2. Number 1, I have Freddy vs. Jason. If you saw my top 10 movies list, if you saw my Nightmare on Elm Street ranking, if you saw my 33 movie ranking, if you saw my Friday the 13th ranking, you'd know that this is my favorite slasher movie ever. Not my favorite horror movie, but my favorite slasher movie. And that's because it is the first horror movie I ever watched, but I've told this story many times before, so I'm not gonna bore you with telling you it a fourth time or however many times I've told you this story. It's super nostalgic for me, and it's super fun. Seeing Freddy and Jason kick the crap out of each other is absolutely great. I was rooting for Jason the whole time, because Jason's my favorite horror villain of all time. I just spoiled my other top 15, but that's fine, I don't care. And Freddy is great, Jason is great, and you know what would be even better if you got to see them in the same movie, and you do. My only complaint would be that Freddy actually doesn't get as many kills as I think he should. He only gets that one guy, Mark, and, then he's done. But Jason does get some great kills, and one of my favorite horror movie kills in history, with folding Trent in half in the bed. One of my favorite horror kills ever. And he kills Kia by sending her flying against the tree. I think that this is the greatest slasher movie of all time. I don't think it'll ever get beat for me. That's going to be it for today, guys. Remember, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I post the rest of my Halloween Spooktacular. And until then, you can comment down below some more video ideas or go check out my channel for more videos that I've already done. But until then, I'm Ethan. But until next time, I'm Ethan Horror. This is my Halloween Spooktacular.